inspired you guys to get engaged in photography?
Good question. What inspired you?
All right, so I have a pretty interesting story on how I even came about photography, actually. So my mom has always had a camera, like, you know, it's a little small handheld, you know, little zoom in and out lens. I mean, it wasn't a big deal. But I noticed that I used to play with the camera when I was younger. Then I put it down, obviously, and started playing sports. And so then I was in high school, and how I got introduced was I was in a male mentor program. And the instructor was, well, the mentor was a photographer. And then he saw me interested in his camera. And so I picked this camera up and I was playing with it. I was taking pictures. And he was like, well, you know what? I need this documented. You know, can you document like us being in here and us doing this? And next you know, I started doing those things for him. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna buy me a camera. And so I went out and bought my first Nikon camera. I'm not a Nikon user now, I'm a Canon user.
That's a story.
I bought me a Nikon camera, and after that, it was like,
it's on.
It's on. It's on. It's going. It's rolling. And so he taught me how to make money with it. Yeah, he taught me a lot. He taught me, like, put me right into the game. So when I was in college, I was already generating revenue from photography, which was really cool and interesting because now I can go look at things from a professional perspective. And at first, I was just doing it, like, just walking around, you know, just taking pictures of leaves and the grass, which is interesting. Stuff to still be interesting, but I realized that I can take this to a career. And so I went from there. That's how I got involved.
Anybody else want to tell their story of how they got inspired to go into photography?
Yeah, go ahead.
So kind of like Ariane, my father was actually, I guess you call him like an advanced amateur photographer. He always had like cameras around the house, whether they were photography cameras. He loved video and film cameras as well. And I picked up his camera when I was probably like around 11 or 12 years old and started shooting with it. And you know, then through high school, I kind of took over his camera. It was a Minolta X700, you know, 35mm film camera. And you know, I just kind of enjoyed shooting with it. I was never really like, you know, shooting one particular thing. And then when I got into college and was actually able to take some photography classes, that's kind of when everything changed. I did a study abroad program in Italy, and I went there by myself. I didn't know anyone, I didn't go with any classmates. It was just kind of one day I was walking in the hallway of the school that I was going to, this community college in Rhode Island, and it was like, do you love art? Do you love travel? Do you want to spend a semester in Italy? And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. And I went home and I told my parents, I was like, oh, by the way, I'm going to go to Italy next year, or, you know, next semester. And they were like with your class? And I was like, no. They said, with your friends? I was like, no. They're like, for vacation? I was like, no, I'm going to like go and live there and go to school. They were like, oh, okay, you know. So I just kind of picked up and left and went. And you know, when I got there, I didn't know anybody and I didn't speak the language. It was just like I was, you know, on the other side of the world by myself. And the only thing I had was my camera. And so that was kind of like the outlet for, I guess, like my loneliness and for everything that I was experiencing. And I fell in love with, you know, like street photography, documentary photography. I would go around and like just take pictures of people. It was like my way of, you know, connecting with people, even though I wasn't like talking to them or anything. It was just kind of my way of like being parts of the crowds that I saw, and like, you know, and I would study the interactions of people and, you know, the relationships, like as, you know, kind of like voyeuristic, you know, and that's where I really fell in love with it. And so, you know, from there I kind of did a lot of street photography. When I came back to the States and I went to New York, I did like street photography for most of the time. And then I did a lot of event photography for like paying the bills and everything. But always my heart's kind of been in documentary photography. And I feel like no matter what you're taking pictures of, whether it's like fine art photography, portraitures, street photography, landscapes, it's always kind of a documentation of I was here and this is how I saw the world, and like, you know, showing people the world through your eyes, through your lens.
Wow.
And you know, so that's what photography has always meant to me. Working for Canon has been, you know, a huge blessing in my life. It's kind of been a way that I, you know, am able to have a career and, you know, be able to, you know, make money and have the life that I need to have, but still be able to do the photography. And, you know, now instead of trying to just, you know, like search for my next job and worry about paying the bills and things like that, I can actually just do the photography that I want to do while I work for Canon. So now I do like a lot of travel type photography and kind of mix it with fine art and landscape and portraiture, but at the same time, in the back of my mind, it's always documentary, no matter what style of photography I'm doing. I feel like photography on the whole is just, it's a document of, you know, your life and the world around you. So.
That is a great, great story. Yeah. And the thing that stood out for me is your courage to step out with nothing on faith. I want to ask you, how did you pay your bills? But I just assumed when you were in Italy, I just assumed mom and dad sent you some money.
They tried. You know, it was, they didn't really have a lot of money at the time. You know, my grandmother was awesome. She co-signed a student loan for me.
Okay.
So I was able to go, and because it was through the community college, it didn't cost too much.
Yeah, that's right. That's
you know,
right.
It was only, I think, like $5,000 for like, you know, the semester, and then I just needed like some money for, you know, room and board. But and at the time too, it was kind of like when it was before the euro, so the dollar to lira, you know, ratio was really good at the time.
Now you
so
can't
it worked
afford
out
it.
really well.
Now you
And I was
cannot
able to
afford that
afford
over
it,
there.
And,
But you know, I still want to add to that the inspiration behind that, because the lesson, children, is step out and do what your heart and your mind is telling you to do.
Absolutely.
You don't know. It could turn out poorly, but it could turn out to be the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
There's a guy that wrote a book called Produced by Faith. He's you know his name apparently, but he was a Sony president or vice president or something like that. And he wrote this book called Produced by Faith. I've mentioned it to many students before. And the thesis in that book is, let your passion lead you to your purpose. Let your passion take you to your purpose. And just don't dismiss the things that you enjoy doing, love doing, or passionate about doing. No matter if it's not, no matter if people say, oh, you can't make no money doing that. Right. You better go there and become a doctor. You better go there and get you a degree in accounting and that kind of thing. But the fact is, I say, you have a passion that's given to you by God. You might not know that right at the beginning, but you will discover, oh, I can do this all day long and I don't even want to eat. I don't want to drink. I don't want to get on the video. I just want to do this. That's your passion. If it's drawing, if it's dancing, if it's whatever your passion is, it is there for a reason.
Yes.
And like Mrs. Howard says, if you have a talent, it is not for you alone. God didn't give you a talent and a gift just for you to use for yourself. It was meant for you to share, you know. So I always want to tell the kids, don't be afraid, honey. Don't be afraid. Just go out there and go for it.
What's the challenge today in this digital era for you guys? Because the technology is running so fast. And you as a photographer, so obviously, you need to think something about that.
One of the biggest challenges is just that, you know, when I started photography, I was interested in photography when I was 10 years old and started shooting film and showing a whole bunch of really, really bad film until I learned what I was doing. And at the time, you know, it wasn't as saturated of a market even then. But now it's just like, everybody's doing it, everybody's got Instagram, people are making so much money off of Instagram, and you know, you look at their work, and it's not even good, a lot of it. So I think one of the hardest things is just to not get stuck in a trend, and to really, and like you were saying earlier, like, you know, think of something you want to do, And just because nobody's doing it, doesn't mean you can't do it. That means you need to do it.
That's right.
Because you're not going to know if it's going to work or not unless you do it. Everything is trial and error.
That's
So it's hard because of the oversaturated market, but if you can find your uniqueness and find what makes you you as an artist and as a photographer and as a person, then you'll stand out.
Yeah, that's good.
On the same lines, I have a question.
Question.
Because I want the students to reflect on that. I know time is. With the access to technology, to the digital world, that kind of make us feel that we all can be photographers. But being married 28 years to a photographer, where do you find the balance? How do you get serious? I hear Sean is your name, right? Like you can do this and then be a photographer, but at some point you have to get serious about photography to really be a photographer.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's so easy to be deceived by, oh, I'm a great photographer, but when I compare what I take with what my husband takes, it's like. So when or how you balance these amateur YouTube video training to be a more serious photographer and learning about composition and lighting and all these things.
I think with art, it's always the intention of the person behind it. And especially with photography, you always have to have that conversation of, is it art, is it not? It's still a question. I always tell students or anybody that asks, like, if your intention is behind to make something more, that's, for me, that makes it special. So if you always want to do the best, so I've always taught, if this is the thing you want to do, you're going to figure out everything to make that the best thing. So for composition, I'm going to read books, look online, using just digital media even as a tool to get better, or you have more access to things that people are doing, so you can look around the world, oh, these are what people are photographing, this is what people are looking at, this is what people like. Figure out a way to make that how I can take the best portrait, how I can take the best image of an object, of a landscape. So I have all those in my wheelhouse to make, and my intention behind it is to make anything the best of my ability. So.
That's good.
I'd like to add like a personal anecdote to that, right? In terms of like, I graduated undergrad, I got a BFA when I was 30. And I sort of, all right, I was like, I like this, I'm making a little bit of money at this, but it was, I was at a juncture in my professional career. I was like, am I gonna do something commercial or do I want to pursue documentary and fine art? And at about 34, 32, 34, I decided I want to go to grad school because I want to be the best that I can possibly be. And I'm going to look for the best program that's going to help nurture what I wanted to do, but I also didn't want to just go to any MFA program because I also wanted to see what the students and what the professors were doing. And so at 34, I decided this is what I'm going to do. And it really has changed not only the way that I look at what I do, but like my whole outlook as an artist as well. Because I wanted something that was going to challenge me beyond what I was accustomed to. So I picked up everything that I had and owned, and I moved to Chicago at 34. I threw everything in the back of my car, I drove out, I got to my apartment that night, and I slept on the floor. And the way that I remember one of my friends who had gone through the program, he said to me, he's like, you're never going to have 3 years to make work at this consistency. So don't waste your time.
God. That's good. Wow. Yeah, thank you. Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.